The Hail Varsity Radio Saturday morning show. Strap yourselves in. Here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt.
Y'all don't even know he was a virgin until he's 28, and now, roll tide.
And Mark Cranack.
Time has come for someone to put his foot down. And that foot is me.
Welcome to it, weekend editions here. It's Hail Varsity Radio. We're here at the Single Barrel inside the Graduate. It is home football Saturday, Nebraska and Northern Illinois. Hope everyone's doing all right. We're down here at the Single Barrel from 3 to 5, getting you geared up for the Matt Rule era Game 1 at Memorial Stadium. We say hello, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. The Pride of Fairbury, Bill Dolman, is side by side with me. And on the horn, one Mark Cranack. Cranack will soon be en route down to Memorial Stadium with his little guy, Tanner. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240. And can also email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. Big thanks to Rick and the crew at Sauter-Heyman helping power home football Saturdays. Sauter-Heyman, of course, excellence in jewelry in the state of Nebraska. We say thanks to Rick and Sauter-Heyman. Guys, it's finally here after 2 bouts of road blues. Nebraska at home, finally for the first time. And there's nothing quite like that home-cooked meal. There's nothing quite like the beef you can get here at the Single Barrel.
Well played.
Yes, and you can get all sorts of steaks and chops here at the Single Barrel. Breakfast is undefeated every morning, and they even have cold beers. Cranack, do we got you, Big Cat?
You got me.
All right. So I'm interested here in what you're planning experience-wise for Junior, because it sounds like Papa Cranack delivered big time. You are going to set him up big time for the Rule era for his first game in 2023.
Well, getting a little lucky. Going to get a little sweet action today. Never done that before. And not since, I don't know, late 90s KRNU days of calling Southern Miss games. So it's, that part alone is going to be fairly interesting. And then, that goes. It's kind of a hookup.
It is a hookup. Mark Cranack's with us here on the horn as he has the sweet action. I love it. Junior always would dirty his way into sweets. He's slinging pizzas today. Big game, guys. We'll start around the horn and talk about the opportunity here. To me, with Nebraska, with this Rule era, there's all sorts of excitement from Matt Rule about his homecoming. If you don't believe me, listen to Coach Rule here, because this is his mantra. This is his mentality out of the gate here, finally back at the friendly confines for the first time this season.
I've worked my whole life. I've waited my whole life to have a chance to step out, at Memorial Stadium and be the head coach of the Huskers. They've worked their whole lives to go out there and get to put on that helmet and go out there and compete and play together. So I'm going to take the field with joy. I'm going to take the field wanting to go 1-0. I'm not taking the field as an 0-2 team. And I think a lot of our guys are carrying around 0-2 with them, and instead of I'm carrying around the joy of playing this week. So, it's just kind of being really transparent with you guys about where the team is. And this is what the team needs to do, though. This is how you reverse trends. This is how you change however many years it's been of losing, is that you confront head on the things that you're afraid of. You confront head on the noise you hear. You confront head on those thoughts in your brain of feeling fear and failure, that little voice in your head at 2 o'clock in the morning. You confront all that and you overcome it. And then you become a strong, confident team, and the program has confidence. And so there's no easy way around it. So I hope that being at home helps us in that process. But the process that we're going through is still internal for each player, still internal in the locker room. They've got to overcome the past and be in the moment and build for the future.
Guys, there's a lot of past for some players and zero past, just 2 games for a handful of the players. Cranack, start with you, Bill, follow, and then Elijah. But I think Rule hit it on the head, and some home cooking can absolutely ease some tension here with the crowd support, the fan support at home?
Well, as long as you can field some snaps, right? Like, that'll help. And, maybe not throw a bunch of picks. I actually looked into the turnovers a little bit and uncovered some things that I think are pretty interesting. It actually turned out to actually not be interesting, but hear me out. So when you looked at Nebraska's 8 turnovers, 5 of them have happened in their opponent's territory, which is terrible, right? Because you're on the march at that point. You think of Anthony Grant's fumble against Minnesota, that happened just past midfield, and they recovered on their own 49. So that's awful. You can't do that, right? Then you look at the other 3 turnovers, and those happened within Nebraska's essentially 25-yard line, if I'm not mistaken, all 3 times. And guess what? That's also terrible. So the conclusion that I came to after looking at those, 5 being in opponent's territory, 3 being in their own, both of those suck. Neither of those are good at all. And so the conclusion I came to is you can't do that. You cannot turn them over. And I was trying to look for any kind of trends I could see with the turnovers. They do seem to come in bunches. They're typically back-to-back possessions. I think that happened, 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Back-to-back possessions where you turn it over at a critical moment. So that's something to look out for. But then I think as you get there today, look, everybody in the fan, most people in the fan base understand that occasionally you have to throw a forward pass. I think what I'm looking for today is yes, you have to do that, but let's do that in a way where it is very low risk. And if you have to just lay up on the green to get an easy putt, just do that, right? If you have to punt it away, that's okay. Don't put, especially if Harburg is playing today at quarterback or Purdy. Neither of those guys have much experience. Neither have proven to be very effective passers, especially with those guys. Just don't try it, right? Literally do not attempt complicated multi-read throws. Just don't do it. Just flat out do not do it. Nebraska does that today, and they stay mostly on the ground, and Northern Illinois is a pretty good run defense. They have a decent shot. The home cooking will be nice, but it absolutely does not matter if you keep putting it on the ground or throwing it to the other team.
It's interesting in listening to Mark's analysis there because I too did the same thing. And while Mark took a much more circuitous route to the conclusion, I went straight to it and said the turnovers are bad. Just bottom line. You can look where they were. You can look when they were. And even some where there wasn't a turnover, but the ball got put on the carpet, that stalled a drive. It wasn't the snap to the fullback's hip.
Yeah, on third and manageable, you jump on the grenade to save the short / makeable field goal, and it doinks off right up.
It turned out to be unmakeable, exactly. So you kind of have a buzzkill right there going into the field goal attempt. So the bottom line for Nebraska, you're right. You got to take care of the football, and if we see a Luke McCaffrey type passing game today where everything is 8 yards or less, right? Because we didn't stretch the field when he was here. Now he stretches the field by running routes. But once you get somebody who's exposed that can't throw the ball deep and you can't manage a game, and you're right, Mark, you can't have multiple reads. It's going to have to be a quick passing game, outs to Fedoni. Billy Kemp probably is not going to be let loose, or Tommy Hill. Might be a what did Gus Johnson call the tight end? Bo Richter.
Bo Richter.
Yeah. Bo Richter.
Bo Richter. Bo Richter.
Bo Richter.
Did I hear a Niner in there?
If Chubby Purdy throws to Bo Richter, on little button hooks, okay, that would be good for Nebraska too. But no matter, and I think we do. I think it is Harburg. Didn't we hear that last night?
He'll be. Elijah's inside double secret probation sources indicate that the German is at quarterback today.
Well, but then again, I was down at the stadium today, and Husker Vision's starting lineup video has Jeff Sims as the starting quarterback. Does that mean anything? Probably not. From what I know from my time working at Husker Vision did not have access to any inside information, game day availability information. They got the same depth chart that the rest of the media got, and they built their starting lineup video from there. Could that have changed since Matt Rule took the helm? Quite possibly. Is it likely? No, not at all. Husker Vision is probably still working with that public depth chart, which has Jeff Sims as your number one guy. I think based on the way momentum has been going, I think that Heinrich Harburg is going to be your guy today. If I was a betting man, that's where I'd put the money right now. And based on that information, today's a test of, can Nebraska simplify their offense and win football games? That's really, Matt Rule said in a lot of words this offseason, pretty much that. We want to have an offense that's physical up front, that runs the football and can operate in cold weather. If you boil that down simply, it's what we've seen from Wisconsin and Iowa and Minnesota and teams of the sort in recent years. Simple offenses that can get it done. That's what Nebraska is going to need today. If you have a guy who's starting his first game at Nebraska in front of the home crowd, their first home game of the season, you got to have an offense that's simple for him. And really, that's the question of what Matt Rule wants to build here. Can he do that? You've had 2 games where the simple offense, it did enough against Minnesota until it shot itself in the foot with turnovers. Last week against Colorado, you built some drives in the first half, you shot yourselves in the foot, and then you had to move to an offense that was less simple to try to come from behind and win that football game. Today's the real test in terms of, can your simple offense go win a football game? Northern Illinois is a team that you should out-talent. You should be able to out-physical them based on their resources, the fan support, the recruiting rankings, the type of athletes you've brought into this football program. You should be able to run a simple offense and still beat Northern Illinois. Have you been able to take notes from those first 2 games, clean up some errors, and get those things right so that your simple offense can get it done today? Can Nebraska win this game by running the football, play action, 5-yard out routes, as Bill Dolman was saying, the little button hook to Bo Richter, if we're going to call him that today, to Borkacher, to Fedoni,
Bo Riker,
slant routes off the play action? Can your simple offense go win you a football game today? I would think that they can. That's why I predicted Nebraska to win this football game. But today's the real test of that. Can you go simplify your offense and win a football game?
Elijah Herbal, Bill Dolman, Mark Cranack, Chris Schmidt, Hail Varsity Radio Weekend Edition on the road here at the Single Barrel, 3 to 5, the flex schedule with a night kickoff. We didn't do the morning edition. It's the afternoon edition, 3 to 5. We want to see you down here at the Single Barrel. Get a cocktail, get a cut of beef you'll love and come back for. And big thanks to our friends at Sauter Heyman for helping power this Saturday road show. Guys, simple is... Oh, man, it's so wishful, right? It's always nice to keep things simple. Easier said than done. And let's get into Harburg a little bit, his strengths. And secondly, this offensive line. What do we know about the offensive line? We know that they have been a work in progress for a while. At least you have guys that have played a lot of snaps, but this will be a nice little barometer because of what Northern Illinois' strengths are, and that is tough and physical against the run with, it may say 9 in the box, but it'll feel like 37. And Nebraska's going to have to be better, be as good as advertised on the line of scrimmage with the recruiting rankings and the number of snaps played. And, of course, just be better. They may know it's going to go in the A-gap. They may know it's going to be a counter. They may know X, Y, and Z and what you want to do in the run offense. You still got to just say, okay, I'm Nebraska, you're not, and make it 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5 constantly. I don't know if Nebraska's offensive line can do that. Do they get a bump from Teddy P today at left tackle? Do they move Turner into guard? Do they have other options at guard, because guard and tackle on the left side have been problematic? And can you find a bit of a rhythm and all the while keep Harburg comfortable? I'm excited here. My numbers that I'm envisioning here for a Nebraska cover and a feel-good win, 48-10 would be incredible. I'm not stupid. I think it's going to be closer than that. I don't know if Nebraska's offense all season long, with or without Sims, with or without Harburg, with this offensive line, is going to do more for you than put up 20 to 24 points. That's a dream. That's doubling the outcome of what they're averaging now, and that's 12 points a ball game. Defense is good enough to keep a lot of people out of the end zone and keep them in the teens on a bad day, let alone clean up on a good day if they are dominant. So Harburg, to me, 12 to 15 passes, You need to be right around 60%. I need 12 to 15 carries with no injuries and make that a 4.5 to 5 yard average. To me, that's a recipe. We're talking total offense from Harburg today, somewhere around 200 yards with no to maybe one turnover in as he manages the ball game. Kranak, what do you say?
I mean, it's almost a carbon copy to what you just said. And just to build on it a little bit more, it's, when you get in that slog of a game and you're not moving the ball that much, I think we could expect that. It's going to come down to same thing we talked about post Minnesota, whether or not Satterfield and Rule, or if Rule can overrule Satterfield or get in the deal a little bit, you need to exercise restraint, right? Like just because the down and distance might call for, oh, okay, well, on paper here, this looks like we should probably go, 4 wide, and we should do some complex scissor routes, and we should throw it right into the teeth over the middle of a defense that's dropping 7. Like, no, you do not do that under any circumstances whatsoever. I wonder how much patience they'll be able to have if they're not able to move the ball that well, and maybe the boo birds start to come out a little bit, and the groans and the grunts start in the stadium of, why can't you move the ball? I want that and a good punting situation and a good punt coverage and solid defense, so that you start to just creep and get better and better field position to where it's almost inevitable that you'll at least get a field goal. I don't expect explosive fireworks of an offense today. It is literally just about getting a W. And the thing that makes that so complex when you're talking to Nebraska, it sounds simple enough, right? It sounds like, why couldn't you do that? But handling the snap was a problem. So if you are going to play that way, you have to be really, really clean, right? You have to be really good at fielding snaps, at handing the ball off to a running back without any of them dropping it. Right? You have to be, because your margin of error is that much smaller, right? You're running clock all the time. Your possessions are somewhat limited. You cannot do that. You can't do that anyways, but if you're one of those hurry up offenses, you're okay. You're going to get multiple other possessions, and it might not sting you as bad. But when you decide to play kind of that ball control possession type offense, the basics like fielding snaps and keeping the ball off the carpet are just paramount. You have to do those things. So that's the conundrum that they're facing right now, right? I mean, I think that's the way they want to play, but they haven't even been able to do that, right? Regardless, though, the answer is not and will never be at all, period, with any of the 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now. It will never be drop back complex passing game. That will never be the answer ever under any circumstances. You're not able to protect well from the left side right now at all, which, hello, that's the blind side. You don't have a great crop of receivers, and you don't have quarterbacks that see the defender. So that part is just out of just literally, if it's a printed playbook, rip those pages out, burn them, do whatever you have to do. If it's a Word doc, delete those pages. They just cannot come up whatsoever. But so it's obvious what they have to do. It's just whether or not they can do the basics well enough to have that be effective.
Well, I tell you what they should do, Mark. If those pages are already printed out with those complex passing routes on them, I think you take them out of the playbook and you leave them on the Northern Illinois sideline pregame.
Pull a leech. Pull a leech before Oklahoma, Texas.
Try to trick them to where they
pretty
think
good.
That's what you're going to do. Yeah.
Well, I would agree that the passing game needs to be limited, and the conversation between Matt Rule,
can you win that way?
Well, the conversation between Matt Rule, Marcus Satterfield, and if it is Heinrich Harburg or Chubba Purdy, all right, boys, we need to have an honest father-son conversation here. Not fall, not spring ball talk, not summer camp talk, not fall camp, any of that. It needs to be, what are you comfortable with? Which of these plays are you absolutely 100% comfortable with? And the others we will take out. As you know, are certain routes difficult for you to read? Is there a certain defense that throws you off a little bit that you might see that you can check down into a running play if we do have a pass play called? But you need to have an honest conversation between coaches and quarterbacks as to what we can call. And Harburg and Purdy and even Sims has to be able to say, at this moment right now, that's not something that I've not worked on a lot with Billy Kemp. Maybe I don't have the same rapport with who might be in that type pattern. I've got really good instincts with where Fedoni's going to be. Okay, great. We will try to work him a little bit more when we do put the ball in the air. I do think that Nebraska's defense is going to give that offense a lot of opportunities, whether it's forcing turnovers, which they've not done a lot of either this season. But I think that they're going to limit long drives by Northern Illinois, who after 2 games against BC in overtime and Southern Illinois is averaging about 35, 36 minutes time of possession, but only 19 points per game. But I don't think that defense is going to allow the Huskies to maintain a lot of possessions. I think you might see a high number of punts. Nebraska's going to have possession of the ball. And again, through the first quarter and a half in Boulder, Nebraska's offense, for the most part, turned out yards, effective running game. They were getting 5-6 yards of play, and everything seemed to be going well until the final 4 minutes. And then all of a sudden, instead of being scoreless or up 3-0, you're behind and you have no momentum going into the locker room. So I think that defense is really going to be significant as to how many opportunities Nebraska's offense has. And Mark, you mentioned special teams and punting. After Minnesota, I think people were thinking this is a really good special teams unit, and I think it probably could be. It's actually nice to see somebody return a punt every now and then. I don't think anybody's ever going to touch Oliver Martin's school record for fair catches in a season or career or game or in a quarter. But Nebraska special teams and Buschini, he was not great against Colorado. So we go from a special teams high, relatively speaking, against Minnesota, and back down again, although I think everybody has some pretty good confidence in Alvano that he's going to be a solid kicker for Nebraska. But Buschini's got to be consistent. And so special teams needs to be better than it was in Boulder.
Fellas, and Elijah, you and I circled the when we talked halftime in Boulder. You're in the rarefied air with Buschini. You had a punt of 39. You had a punt of 31. You had a punt of 33. That was all first half. And the levee didn't break till, again, that 420 mark. Everyone's raising a fist in Boulder. But that's when it happened. You survived it. And you had a kick of, I think, 45 in the third quarter, that first punt Nebraska had. But then he got drilled with no flag as Northern Illinois has loaded up the bus here outside Single Barrel inside the Graduate as they are making their way to the stadium. But
a lot of people complained about that roughing the punter call. I actually agree with it. I think he was blocked into the punter, but I digress.
Right. There was a little escort there to his leg, but that surprised. There's a lot of surprises in Boulder last week, but his kicking was one that just was problematic. You got a guy like Mackay Bayer that thrived in Minneapolis on special teams and made the jump to start and get a lot of snaps, over 40 snaps against Colorado as a linebacker. Who's that special teams demon today that could maybe get more time as the season progresses? You need the kicking game to be good, and I agree with you, Bill, that Nebraska's defense will be the offense's best friend potentially today with shorter fields that can help boost some confidence. I think I'm excited, guys. Elijah, are you fired up to see what Harburg can do as Minnesota absolutely plants Drake May as he rolls to his right? He gets up and throws a touchdown pass the next play. Minnesota right now is looking for a helmet to duck and cover. But I think this could be good. Not only could, get Sims get some rest and then recalibrate, and then competition makes you better or you go away. But you also get a chance to see Harburg and maybe Pretty get comfortable for the first time in their career.
Yeah, and that's I'm excited to see what Harburg can do, but I don't think today's a day where the game plan should be running through the quarterback, with the exception being on a 3rd and 7 type
run.
play where we have to convert from the quarterback beating you with his arms. That's why quarterbacks make the big bucks in the NFL, and that's why they get all the headlines as a college athlete. It's not for how they run the football, though. That's how I think Harburg's going to be used today. It's how he throws the football. And as you said, I don't think you want a game plan where Harburg has to throw more than 12 to 15 times in the game. You want to limit his opportunities through the air, but it comes down to how does Nebraska get to 3rd and manageable? Are they able to run the ball with success and set up 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, where you can run the ball or throw the football on that 3rd down to pick it up, make the defense think? And 3rd down is something that Nebraska's struggled with a little bit to start this season. You think back to that first half against Minnesota, they struggled to get off the field on 3rd down. You think back to last week against Colorado, they struggled to get off the field on 3rd down. And Northern Illinois, thus far this year, they're over 50% on their 3rd down conversion, 17 of 33, while holding their opponents to 6 of 27 on 3rd down. So Northern Illinois, they've done well through the first 2 games of the year in picking up 3rd downs and limiting their opponents on their 3rd downs, getting their defense off the field. That's going to be a story of the game today. You would think Nebraska's going to be able to have more success there than Northern Illinois' previous opponents whenever you look at the fact that it's Southern Illinois and it's Boston College, but you don't know until you get between those white lines on the field. How does Nebraska do on 3rd down? How does Heinrich Harburg operate on 3rd down? Those are 2 things I'm going to be looking for today.
Real quick, we're talking about. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, sorry, and I have to get out. Sorry. So
I was just going to jump in and say, Kranak, God love you, Godspeed, and get down here safely. Give me a prediction.
No, I will. I got one more thing. I got to lay out just one more pearl of wisdom, and then I got to get out. Okay.
With all of his pearls of wisdom, we could be here all day.
No, we're going to just go to the bar. Kranak talk.
They might be fake pearls. I don't know. I don't know if there's much wisdom in it. But one thing to look for today too is, for as well as the defense has played, and I think it's pretty obvious, the altitude and then just the amount of times they had to come onto the field, sudden change. They ended up wearing down against Colorado. I don't think it was necessarily Colorado found something and was able to dissect Nebraska. I think it was literally fatigue and those sorts of things. But they have not gotten turnovers, and that is legal. You are allowed to do that as a defense. You are allowed to get fumbles. You are allowed to get interceptions. And in front of a home crowd today, and I think that might be how Nebraska can win this year and potentially get bowl eligible. That part, you hate to put more on the defense, but they seem like they're structurally sound. They seem like they hit pretty well. They attack the ball carrier pretty well. They're gang tackling. They're good open field tacklers. They have a lot of traits of a good defense, but we have not seen them create havoc like they could with turning the ball over and, giving a more abound offense a short field from time to time. So that's something to look forward to today, too, hopefully.
Kranak, safe travels. Give me a score before we hit break.
I liked what you had, man. I'm going to give it to Nebraska just because I think they will maybe get a couple turnovers, maybe a pick 6, maybe a scoop and score, something, those types of things that tend to happen at home more than they do on the road. Give me Nebraska 24 and Northern Illinois 16.
Ooh, 24-16.
Yeah, Rocky Lombardi's not very good either at quarterback. I hope I didn't say that out loud. But it's not like he's going to run a super prolific offense either. I think they're going to be limited to field goals quite a bit.
He throws like a wrestler, right? Is that it?
He sure does.
Kranak, take care.
Come on down.
Well, text me where you're at so I can go crash your location at halftime.
I don't know if they let you type in there. Well, we'll see.
Let your type.
I'm wearing sleeves today. Give me a break. All right, there he is, Mark Kranak with us. He is taking his little guide out of the game today. It's a sweet life for the Kranaks. I love it. Bill Dolman here with me, Chris Schmidt. We're here in the Single Barrel Graduate where we're located. 9th and P, you're invited out. We're powered by our friends at Sauter Heyman for this road show Saturday. Brandon Vogel of Counter Reed going to be with us. A quick timeout. Weekend edition continues just ahead of Nebraska-Northern Illinois with Hail Varsity.
fall and football.
I love the fall.
Lincoln, Nebraska is the best city in America to get the full experience.
The color of the leaves, apple orchard, campfires.
Stay connected mornings with Schmidt, Carol, and Jeff with the latest news, changing weather, school issues, along with a touch of Husker football, the Chiefs, and your local high school sports. Lincoln's Morning News, and so much more. Weekdays from 6 until 9 on FM 101.5, 1240 AM, and at KFORnow.com.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Husker fans, it's time to get real. Whatever is needed following each Husker football game with the Real Red Reaction Show. Immediately after each game, we go live for your unbridled opinions on KFOR and on the KFOR Facebook page.
Did you know China starts teaching financial literacy in preschool? American kids are getting left behind, but we can help at home thanks to The Sensibles, a team of animated superheroes who help kids develop smart money habits in a fun way. Each month, they get a kit in the mail with a DVD, a comic book, access to an interactive website, fun activities, and lots more. Visit bcs-kids.com today and enter promo code CENT for 20% off. Digital subscriptions also available. The Sensibles. It's the sensible thing to do. Did you know China starts teaching financial literacy in preschool? American kids are getting left behind, but we can help at home thanks to The Sensibles, a team of animated superheroes who help kids develop smart money habits in a fun way. Each month, they get a kit in the mail with a DVD, a comic book, access to an interactive website, fun activities, and lots more. Visit bcs-kids.com today and enter promo code CENT for 20% off. Digital subscriptions also available. The Sensibles. It's the sensible thing to do.
Moments like seeing my son's team cheer him on mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative NBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems. Listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
Upgrade your tech with a KFOR home office hookup. Win a prize package valued at over $2,500 from Schrock Innovation. And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for spending time. Weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio. We're here at the Graduate Hotel, the Single Barrel, where we're posted up. Great food and drinks, over 200 whiskeys to choose from, all sorts of steaks. and chops and burgers, and my wife and her little friends are across the way. they're angelic looking, but if you
Little friends.
well, if you were to go try and touch her sangria, I'm sure a sharp object would come out of her purse. We welcome in with Counter Read, counterread.com. Brandon Vogel, he's in his football office on this Saturday, scanning all the college football with some deep thoughts on Nebraska. At Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter's where you find him. Elijah Herbelback and Chris Schmidt, Bill Dolman. Big thanks to Mark Kranak. The Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, is en route. Vogues, how we doing, man? Happy game day. It's week 3 already.
It is week 3. After this, we'll be 25% of the way done. It's just hard to believe. 12-game season. Don't enjoy that fact, but so it is. Strange day so far in college football. So we'll see what the night holds.
You've tweeted out a little bit on Wisconsin. They've struggled a bit. Notre Dame is kind of sleepwalking. Duke's only up by 10 on Northwestern. Minnesota has had problems. They threw a pick on their first drive. They got held to 3. And now Carolina's driving it deep into Minnesota territory again. Bama is trailing. That means 3 or 4 busted headsets.
It's 3-0 in a weather delay. So that game is into a weather delay, and you never know how teams are going to come out of a weather delay. But 3-0, is that still the score?
And I know if St. Nick's screaming at halftime in an enclosed area, they're going to try and get any way possible away from him to go play on the field and keep him happy. K-State, man, Missouri and Coach Drink, they get a big win, 30-27 over Kansas State. Does this Nebraska-Northern Illinois game fall into the same category for you as potentially weird, Vogel, as you have Drake May picked off by that stud safety that did it to Nebraska a couple of times? Help me with the name, fellas.
Tyler Nubbin.
Safety.
Yes. Another Minnesota theft in the secondary. Pretty impressive there as he made a great play as he was hit as he threw it. So Minnesota hanging in. They'll make this a tough one. But does Nebraska-Northern Illinois fall into the weird category tonight, folks?
No, I don't think so. It figures to be probably a pretty close quarters game. We know that's how I think Nebraska is built to play now. It's how Northern Illinois has been building to play under Thomas Hammock. In a lot of ways, Northern Illinois feels like a Big Ten team, which maybe makes sense given it's surrounded by the Big Ten. So I would expect it to be pretty punchy, a little bit of a slugfest. And I don't know if it can get weird because, Nebraska is a double-digit favorite here. But, based on what we've seen so far and knowing that Northern Illinois is not just a solid team, but like a solid program, which Matt Rule alluded to this week, these games always kind of contain a little bit of danger in my mind.
Well, speaking of weird, I'm not sure if I missed this or if I got glossed over. Georgia is currently losing to South Carolina just before half. Did you mention that?
I did not get to Georgia yet. I know Georgia's had a history with South Carolina, and I think one of Georgia's best teams, fellas, I think their last home loss in Athens was to South Carolina. Kind of a garbage South Carolina team that maybe went 6-6 or wasn't even bowl eligible. The Muschamp era, I think. It's been years. It's been probably 7-8 years. But, South Carolina has a tendency to play Georgia, or Georgia has a tendency to overlook South Carolina.
Might have been back in the Todd Ellis era of South Carolina football, circa 1986.
Is Tannehill ring a bell?
Ryan Tannehill? He went to A&M?
No, he's A&M. Who is the 3 named mullet-wearing South Carolina quarterback of the late 80s?
Well, that narrows it down.
Vogues, you know who I'm talking about.
I don't recall the name off the top of my head, but I do recall I vaguely recall seeing some of that from Georgia.
I'm not crazy. It's ringing a bell.
I was wondering if Vogues was breaking news here on realignment when he said Northern Illinois is a Big Ten-like team. Are they joining the league? Is this an audition for them? You think that would pass
They would.
the Big Ten meetings?
It would be an easy ad. About halftime of the Wisconsin game, I was starting to think maybe Georgia Southern should be added to the Big Ten. They'd held on and not gotten blitzed in the second half. They would have had more Big Ten wins since last season than Northwestern. So that's something. I think that's worthy of an invite. Florida State struggled against BC. Georgia, as you guys mentioned, is down. I think what we're learning is the only good team this year is Colorado, which is what we all knew coming in. We were all saying it.
Well,
here we are.
What do you make of this pregame battle in Boulder, where you've got Gronk giving away $60,000, spiking? Someone's going to file a lawsuit because they broke their nose off the ricochet of a Gronk spike, possibly. There's some little snot-nosed Colorado student that won $60,000 because he could spin around 10 times on a bat, keep his balance, grab a football, run back across a 20-yard field, and then spike it in the end zone. That was the bleep show that was going on in their pregame. Meanwhile, yes, Rick, I'm going to mention you as a sponsor. I have 7 times. Moving forward. You have The Rock that was sitting down with Prime on ESPN. And, it's pretty entertaining to watch Dion hand out sunglasses the last 48 hours, folks.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. It made sense. ESPN got out there kind of the first chance that they had. I don't know why Fox is there again. Like, Colorado State's not good. Like, they're just not. Like, I like Jay Norvell. I think he has a chance, and that's a program that we've seen. Well, it's been short of, I think, what its ceiling is the last couple of years by a good margin, and they're just not there yet. So that one kind of perturbed me a little bit. But it tells you, like, you go where, I guess, the ratings and thus the money are. So Fox just might live in Boulder for the rest of the season.
It seems like maybe they're trying to catch them while they're hot, too, because they've got Oregon coming up. I'm a little surprised that they didn't go there. That's a little bit more key, but maybe they're looking at this thinking this doesn't look good for maybe them continuing on. They could lose to Oregon. They could lose to USC. They're going to get into some tougher games in the Pac-12, which will probably stay together now that they're having a good season overall. But we better strike while Colorado is hot, and let's go out there. We'll do a game day while the weather is beautiful, because they've already got like 3 inches of snow on Monarch Pass this weekend. So you can't go out there later. So I think this is all a strategic thing and getting the story while it's there, because it may not be there in a month.
And Bill, while you're talking like strategic, it's a chance for the national media industry to cash in on college football feeling exciting again. Really, since the college football playoff's been instituted, it's been the same 4 or 5 teams every single year that are good. And hey, if Colorado looks good, they have some excitement. People care about Deion Sanders and what he's building there, the talent that they have. People seem to care. Let's cash in on that while we can right now, because by the time the end of the year rolls around, it's probably going to be those same 4 or 5 teams. But if a neutral fan can get excited about college football again because there's a new team that's rising in the West and is coming for the likes of Alabama and Georgia, at least that's what they can sell it as, they're going to take advantage of that, because you haven't had that for years.
I want to see Bama. I want to see if Colorado wants Bama. I want to see that. I want to see that at some point this year, or Georgia, or I'm torn because I'm overdosed on Deion. I'm not hating on him. I think he's an incredible player. I love his motivation. I'm sick of the making it personal card. Okay. I need those cards burnt, tired of it. And they're going to get whooped. They are going to get absolutely drilled either by Oregon or by USC or by both. And I still think they've got Oregon State, who may be the best team in the Pac-12 on their schedule. So Deion talks about, well, we're coming. Well, their beating is somewhere on that schedule, maybe multiple beatings. But Dillman, you nailed it. That it's a hot property now, and jump in on the trend while it's still fashionable. And the minute they get drilled by 40 by somebody, there'll be no more interest in well, not no more, but they'll the shine will be off of Colorado. So let's just see how things matriculate for the Buffs. I think I'd love to see Jay Norvell pull that upset off. Isn't going to happen. And quite honestly, Colorado's a fun story now, but that was totally a winnable game for Nebraska. I know the second half was a different story than the first half, but Colorado was all out of sorts. It was, dare we say it, another turnover that kind of broke things the way for the Buffs, folks.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, I think looking at it in terms of which team was able to execute what it wanted to do, Nebraska did for really the entire first half. And I think Rule was careful and right to point out a couple of times this week that basically halfway through the third quarter, it was still only 13-7. And when the dam broke, it broke in a big way for Colorado. But for a long time, that game looked like Nebraska was engineering, didn't have an upper hand, but it was like creating its own by executing what it wanted to do. So you can take things like that, I think. And as you look at Nebraska going forward, they are legitimate things to build on. Tonight's game, it said it has the potential to be pretty close quarters. I mean, I think with uncertainty of quarterbacks, certainly Nebraska might lean on the run game even a little more heavily. The defense has really shown some real promise through two games. I think everybody sees that. A missing element has been, you'd like to see a couple more takeaways. You definitely need to be better on third down. If you get either of those two things, much less both, I think this can look pretty close to, what the lines say in this game will be.
Vogues, it's been a while since we've been on the air on a Saturday show, but we are on the air today, so we're up against a break here. I need to get your thoughts, though, with about the last 90 seconds we have before we got to say goodbye, at least this segment. What's your key stat for the game tonight? If Nebraska wins this category, they're probably going to win the game.
Probably third down. I would go with that because I think the defense needs to offer some help here. Nebraska's over 50% in terms of third down conversion allowed. Northern Illinois, which hasn't been great offensively, has been good on third down. It's top 15 or top 20. It's over 50%. So I think I put the number for third down at 45%. If Nebraska can hold them to that, which is about average in college football, I think you'll see a Nebraska win. Live update too. South Carolina just scored, go up 14-3, 1 minute to go in the second half.
After Georgia missed a chip shot field goal to bring it within a point.
I'm all for South Carolina upsetting Georgia. That would be marvelous. That'd be incredible. And I don't think South Florida is going to hang on, but it could get weird. We'll see.
Well, there's another update too. There was a weather delay in the Iowa-Western Michigan game, and that has really disrupted what Iowa wants to do offensively. So that's something also to keep an eye on to see if they can't get it back in gear, because they were almost ready to maybe score some points today because they haven't scored yet. But that weather has stopped Brian Ferentz.
Carolina's up 21-3 on the Gophers. Vogues, we'll get caught up soon. Brother, thanks for jumping in with us today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
There he is. Counterread.com. Find Brandon Vogel. Hour 2 on the way, powered by your friends at Sauter Heyman.
Hello, neighbor, from Super C Convenience Stores. It's backyard grilling and tailgating season. Super C has the propane exchange to fuel your backyard party or game day grilling delights. And what tailgate doesn't need ice? At Super C, you get more ice for the same low price. Plus, Super C has hot snacks and cool drinks or adult beverages for your pregame party. Like 12 packs of Michelob Ultra, just $13.99. Stop in at Super C, where they're always happy to see you tailgating.
Super Saver has everything you need for tailgate season at home or away. Grill out with your favorite selections and serve the best sides and drinks. Super Saver, we sell for less.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars. Lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed early bird special, only $49.99. Seminar Tuesday, September 26th at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Weight loss seminar starts at 5:30. Registration at 5 p.m. Stop smoking starts at 8 p.m. Registration 7:30 p.m.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-day kitchen and bath.
I had heard about 3-day kitchen and bath. I kind of always dismissed it thinking, well, nobody can do that in 3 days. I wanted somebody who was going to come when they said they would come and do what they said they were going to do. What I liked best was having it done in less than a week, the whole thing from top to bottom. Nobody could believe I really had it done that fast. They absolutely held up to every single thing that they agreed to. I especially loved the fact that I didn't have to go out all over town. The overall quality was very good. You know, all the workmanship was so excellent. They'll definitely do exactly what they say they're going to do. There's no surprises, no added costs later. They stay until everything's exactly the way you want it, and you're done.
Thanks, Lori. Check us out online at 3daykitchen.com.
At 3-day kitchen and bath.
For all your remodeling needs, call Good Guy Construction at 435-3355.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Early bird special only $49.99. Guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. Also, lose all the weight you want. Early bird special only $49.99. Guaranteed with Mark Patrick Seminars. Let hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings, late day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating, and lose the weight. Seminar Tuesday, September 26th at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults. Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
At Alpha Media, we are here to help you meet your future alumni with Alpha EDU. With our audience-first approach, it allows us to identify your educational institution's diverse cohorts. We are not guessing where they are. We know, utilizing multiple platforms along with unique strategies to obtain first-party data. We provide valuable impressions to your exact future students. Our omni-channel approach allows you to reach aspiring students throughout the application to student journey. Our Alpha EDU strategy uses your list of feeder high schools and collects the device IDs of not only the students, but of those who influence their decisions. This list is then uploaded into major platforms to connect your message directly to them at the right time. With our multiple strategy approach, we can reach any potential student you are looking for. Alpha Media wants to provide an easy partnership from campaign development and optimization to implementation and reporting. Find out how Alpha can be an extension of your team. Go to alphamediadigital.com to learn more about Alpha EDU.
This is your station for local news, talk, sports, and weather. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. The center of what was Hurricane Lee, now a post-tropical cyclone, making landfall in Nova Scotia. Meanwhile, across the Gulf of Maine, wind whipping at Bar Harbor, 102,000 customers without power through New England. Versant Power spokeswoman Judy Long says crews have been deployed trying to bring customers back online as quickly and safely as they can.
Well, what was unique about this storm, and I think we've been talking about this for a few days,
as expected, we did see quite a lot of debris in the roads, a lot of trees down in roads with the saturated soils, with the degree of winds that we saw. There definitely was down trees, down limbs, down lines.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton will keep his job. The state Senate voted there to not remove him from office despite his impeachment by the Texas House.
Senator Betancourt. Vote after vote was essentially the same. Senator Blanco. The Democrats voting yay on 16 articles of impeachment to strip Ken Paxton of his title. The Republicans who control the Senate voting to clear him of wrongdoing. The votes followed 2 weeks of testimony, including from former employees who were fired or resigned after going to the FBI to complain that Paxton was giving unfettered access to the AG's office to a campaign contributor. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
Auto workers take to the picket lines for day 2 of a historic strike against the big 3 automakers. ABC's Morgan Norwood in Wayne, Michigan, outside of Detroit.
President Biden hoping to hustle the talks along, sending his acting labor secretary and a senior aide to Detroit.
Let's be clear. No one wants a strike.
By one estimate, the strike could cost the economy more than $5 billion, with tens of thousands of jobs lost. And it's already triggered a wave of some 600 temporary layoffs at Ford.
A UAW source calling Friday's negotiations productive. In Munich, Oktoberfest is underway. Beer tents open for business this morning. You're listening to ABC News.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ty Burrell, actor and small business owner. I'm going to show you my steps for making the perfect radio ad. This one's about innovation refunds and the ERC. First step, be relatable. I like pizza and puppies. 2, cold hard info. The ERC is a tax credit for eligible businesses that kept employees on payroll in 2020 and 2021. So if you qualify, Innovation Refunds Network of Independent Tax Attorneys could help you claim it. 3, go to innovationrefunds.com or call 1-843-REFUNDS.
Innovation Refunds does not provide tax or legal advice. We work with an independent network of tax professionals. Terms and conditions apply. Ty is a paid spokesman.
The bodies of nearly 4,000 people have been recovered and identified so far in flood-ravaged eastern Libya. That update from the World Health Organization today. Jan Frieda is the head of the delegation in the International Committee of the Red Cross in Libya, expected the death toll to continue to climb.
There are different figures that are circulating. For sure, it's a very high number. It's a human tragedy.
The mayor of Derna saying that the total death toll could reach 20,000. Meanwhile, frustration growing in Libya with reports that scientists and engineers had warned the government that the 2 dams in the northern part of the country could burst. The CDC recommending anyone in 6 months or older get the new COVID vaccine to help protect against the virus. Dr. Kirsten England with Cleveland Clinic.
The prior bivalent and single valent vaccines will no longer be available. They're no longer useful. Everybody should be getting the new COVID vaccine because it's, again, specific to what's out in the world right now.
Adrian Paul Espuro has been identified as the armed man arrested at last night's Kennedy campaign event for JFK Jr., or RFK Jr., I should say. Police taking the 44-year-old into custody after they say he had a loaded gun, a shoulder holster, and a badge stating that he was a U.S. Marshal. Kennedy saying that the man tried to approach him. Police say that the suspect never brandished a gun or threatened anyone. This is ABC News.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
I'm Jeff Bryden. Nebraska football tight end Eric Gilbert was arrested Friday in Lumpkin County, Georgia, on charges of obstruction of officers and smash and grab burglary. Our media partner 1011 Now reports it's his second run-in with police in less than a month. He was arrested in Lincoln August 29th after police said he broke into a vape shop at 27th and O Streets and stole roughly $1,600 worth of product. Gilbert is due back in Lancaster County Court September 27th. Weather permitting, beginning Sunday, northbound on-ramp closures will occur at the US 77 and Van Dorn interchange for overnight concrete joint sealing work. The Nebraska Department of Transportation told KFOR News in a media release the northbound on-ramps will be closed nightly beginning at 7 p.m. and reopen at 6 a.m. the following day. The work is expected to be completed September 20th. And at Hibner Stadium.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
We're back here at the Single Barrel, Hour 2, the weekend edition, Hail Varsity Radio. Mark Cranack en route. Bill Dolman at his own private table. He just moved away from us like...
Guy is a bigwig.
I'm Forrest Gump asking to sit on the bus seat. It's like taken.
I'm enjoying my chocolate milk by myself. Thank you very much. So
the Iron Horse, Gary Sharp is here. Sharpie, good to see you.
Good to see you, boys. Welcome to the home opener. Just a little bit late.
I know. Way back, Elijah checked in on the 1981 season. How this is the latest kickoff since '81. Nebraska's opened had a home opener in that season. Think about this non-conference. You opened with the loss to Iowa. You beat Florida State. You had Penn State, and then you played Auburn. Wow.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you'll remember it. Bill will remember it even more so. In '95, that was such an odd start to the season because you began on a Thursday night in Stillwater. And then you went to Michigan State. By the time Nebraska played at home, because you remember what happened after Michigan State, it was such an odd opener in '95 for one of the best college football teams of all time, because there had been so much had gone on in the first two games where LP essentially won the Heisman. We got introduced to Amon Green, and then Michigan State. You destroy Michigan State, and then the aftermath of Lawrence Phillips. I remember that Saturday because it was a really, really odd, because the week was just totally turned upside down. But, oh, by the way, you have this incredible football team that now plays at home for the first time.
Arizona State came to town, a Arizona State team that turned out to be a year away from a national championship run at 11-1. And Nebraska, Clinton Childs come out and just dismantle the Arizona State team. Derek Rogers walks out of the stadium, out of the tunnel per se, with a flag he's waving, bring the pain, bring the pain. Well, Nebraska did that day. And was it, did Lance do the backflip?
That was the backflip. And then it was
Lance Brown.
Bill might have been had a more in-depth on this when Bruce Snyder and Tom Osborne at midfield. Remember when Bruce Snyder went nuts on T.O.?
For running up the score.
Yeah.
But what Bruce Snyder failed to realize was that Nebraska's track meet not only gassed its starters and second and third units so much that the starters had to go back in when it was like 49-7. And Tom's like, well, the guys are kind of tired. Got to keep them fresh. I mean, that was literally, you had your third string players in that game that were worn out and needed a break.
Who threw the touchdown? Was it the Terminator to Lance Brown?
I think that's right, because that was the one that set him over the edge, and he wanted to go Bruce. It's Matt Turman. He's like 5'8" from Wahoo. That's who just beat you, with Lance Brown, who's 5'8" from Papillion La Vista. That's who's beating you right now. It's not Lauren or Amon and Tommy. And we have our third and fourth unit out there, and they're still loading points on the board for you. Sorry.
That was a sweet. Can I say something? That third-team offensive line in '95 was marvelous. They were so good. Interesting day today with college football as Florida State got their groove on and eventually distance from Boston College. That's the win that Northern Illinois has on their schedule. Hey, I'm maybe speaking too soon because scoop and score. It's a 9-point ball game. Zone read here for the Noles, and they get into the end zone and a little breathing room.
Oh, that game's gone final.
Okay,
it's 31-29. Florida State gets a tight win over Boston College.
It didn't need to be that way. It was 21-7 or 21-10 at one point, maybe 31-10.
So it should be noted that Northern Illinois beat Boston College by more points than Florida State did. And as we zoom in, on
As
that Northern
everyone
Illinois
rushes
game tonight.
to the war horse.
This from our friend Drake Keeler with Hail Varsity and Hurrdat Sports. Jeff Sims officially listed as questionable on Nebraska's availability report today. No other names listed on that report.
Keep the guy in the garage tonight.
Can I ask a question here about the left side of the offensive line? We'll go around the room here as Sauter Heyman helping power the road show Saturday here at the Single Barrel. Okay, left side of the offensive line. Teddy P needs to get into football shape and feel comfortable on that left tackle spot with recovery from injury. Turner at guard versus tackle is probably a better fit. What about Justin Evans-Jenkins? Talk to me about him. He's the backup center. Is he a guy that Nebraska could play with a little bit at guard, either have him at center and move Scott to a guard? What type of tweaking do you believe, Sharpie, I'll start with you, Bill, and then Elijah, can Nebraska still do at this point of the year, or do they do nothing?
I don't move Ben Scott, but I will tell you that in fall camp, he almost won the left guard job. So he's essentially a 1B, but they haven't played him a lot. I mean, we're to the point now, we're all waiting on Teddy, and maybe we've only seen briefly of him when he was a freshman, but there's something, I don't know, there's something doesn't line up, because I think he's closer to 100%, and I know Rule is very cautious, but you are only hurting Turner Corcoran by continuing to play him at tackle. That's not his position. He's more effective at guard. But, Ethan Piper hasn't played well. You took Ethan,
which is too bad, because you want it for him.
And you took Ethan Piper and Jeff Sims to Indianapolis. Those guys haven't played well. There's a couple like Ty Robinson hasn't played up to his potential that we've seen in the past. So, but I think that left side, I think he's a viable person. But how much will Rule just go in? Is he ready to make a change? But, they really haven't played a game where you've been able to play a lot of rotations. So I wanted to know more about Teddy this week than Jeff Sims.
How many times have we heard, well, Teddy's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then it was, he'll be ready to go. And you keep waiting for the big guy. And, you really can't miss it. And you don't see him at Colorado. And it's like, well, how many games are we going to keep saying that he's ready and then not see him to provide a little depth, whether it be dominant play on the left side or just depth play on the left side and for the offensive line? That has been the curious scripting of this for me with Nebraska's offensive line. Is every week he's ready.
Yep.
And then we don't see him. And then he's ready. And then we don't see him, even for a couple of snaps. And at some point, it's got to be a little bit like we've talked about with the quarterback situation. Get some guys out there just to get them some live action snaps so that maybe they're not playing 30, 60 snaps, but 3 to 6, just because he's out there to say, I did it. And I just am curious as to why the script is the same every week.
Elijah, I know you love watching O-line play. So I'm being commanded here. Bye, Bunny.
What do you want my thoughts on?
I wanted offensive line. She gave me some Dion shades. What the hell?
Are those blenders?
They are. They're going on. They're going on eBay. Offensive line, and just at what point do you experiment, settle, and keep grinding? Are you going to get better play from Turner and Ethan on that left side with more games? Michigan's 2 weeks away. Northern Illinois is going to have all sorts of mean Huskies ready to try and stop your run game. You got a new quarterback behind center today. What are you doing if you're Sat, Raiola, and Rule with that offensive line? I love the counter game I saw briefly against Colorado. There is some mobility there, but do you try and get some more guys in, even if it is a tight game, or you're trailing?
Well, one thing that we've seen so far this year is we've seen rotation on that offensive line in a couple of spots. We've seen Latovsky and Nuri flipping around a decent amount this season. I wonder, based on what we've seen on that left side, if this is a game where Teddy rotates in. He's not the starter. He's not the first guy out there, but he gets a couple of drives. Because one of the things that's really important, not just on offensive line play, but in football in general, is there's a difference between being in shape and being in football shape. I think Teddy is healthy. I'm not sure Teddy is in football shape. Is he ready to go for 70 snaps in 14 play drives, 11 play drives, the type of drives you see when you're a running offense where you're going to be firing off the ball. I think that's probably the holdup with Teddy right now. You start getting his feet wet. He's had a couple weeks of practice now to start getting closer to football shape. It's harder to get into football shape when you don't have the grueling fall camp to do that for you. I wonder if this is a game where you see him start to rotate in. And you talk about Ethan Piper. It's so hard for a guy at left guard to be able to play up to his level whenever you don't trust the guy next to you. And based on what we've seen from Turner Corcoran thus far this year, I don't think Ethan Piper trusts the guy next to him. It's a lot harder to play offensive line when you're not just worrying about what you have to do on any given play, but you're also worried about what the guy next to you is going to do on any given play. Harder to play with that freedom. And I wonder if Ethan Piper, we can see a new side to him if Teddy gets in there and you see more trust on that left side of the offensive line between Ethan Piper and Teddy, because you've seen that added trust on the right side. Whenever Latovsky's come in, whenever it's Latovsky next to Benhart, that right side of the offensive line, I would go as far as it looks better than passable. It looks good. I like what I see from that right side of the offensive line. Ben Scott has been 6 out of 10 this year. It's good enough to get some wins and to get some rushing attack from your center. The left side of the offensive line is what's been holding you up this far. And I specifically zoom in on Turner. It's something I've said before. He's been shuffled all up and down the offensive line during his career. He's never been able to settle at any given position. You've seen the results thus far this season based on what he's had to go through in his college career. I feel for the guy, but at the same time, he's not at a level that is good enough to be starting at Nebraska, to be starting in the Big Ten. And you hope Teddy's ready. And if it's another game of struggle from Turner Corcoran, at what point do you say, hey, if Teddy's not ready, we're going to throw Gunnar Gatula in there and see what he has? Because what you've simply gotten from Turner Corcoran thus far this year is not good enough. And at some point, you talk about accountability. At what point is there going to be accountability for Turner Corcoran and say, you know what? We don't like what we have in Gunnar Gatula that yet. I think you really like the potential of Gunnar Gatula. You don't want to throw a true freshman in there. At what point do you throw him out there? Because you've seen Evans Jenkins come out there as that swing tight end, that 6th offensive lineman, and he's done admirably in that spot. At what point do you see Gunnar Gatula if Turner Corcoran can't continue to cut it?
Good question. The other part of that, too, is the help you need to give the left side of the line for protection. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep chipping with Ramir?
Well,
or are you going to add Evans Jenkins or the tight ends? But you want Borkature and Fedoni. They got to be
involved in the pass.
They got to be they got to be the options in the pass game today.
Well, one thing they have done. So this was something they worked on leading up to Minnesota, and I thought we would see it a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more against Colorado. As more of an unbalanced line. They have worked some offensive linemen at like basically tight end.
Yeah.
But it would be like an extended part of the offensive line. I thought we would see that a little bit sooner. Maybe we see it tonight. But back to Elijah's point about the left side of the line. And, Gatula, the thing that is scary, guys, is if you're going to put a guy like a Sam Sledge or a Gatula, and Sam Sledge is going to have a big career at Nebraska, you got to remember what is around the corner in 2 weeks. Do you really want an unproven true freshman out there playing left tackle? Now, Teddy Prohaska had one of his better games against Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes.
Remember that a couple of years ago?
He got hurt.
But there's a big difference between Teddy as a freshman compared to Gatula. But they have to figure that out, and they have to figure it out soon. Isn't it crazy about the offensive line? Because I think they have been okay. They've sometimes been
They've been good enough.
But you know what? One thing that Rule told us, and we all went, Matt, you haven't been here very long. We've seen enough football. Bryce Benhart has proven Matt Rule correct. Bryce Benhart for 2 games has played on the NFL-type level. Mm-hmm. That's impressive that you have not talked about Bryce Benhart at all.
Negatively.
Yeah. And that's been the case his entire career.
That's what you want.
He's found a place now. And remember, he was highly recruited out of Minnesota, but Corcoran is one of the highest-rated recruits that's ever said yes to Nebraska.
Top 50, right? Yep. Top 50.
And I got to play the Baker kid.
Play him today.
Look, it's part of the NIL.
Why don't you come in and part of your visit? It's a new way to have your visit. You get to play, and this is what it would be like for you. And have him line up and get the real game experience.
Bill, you know what? That I actually think he could probably hold his own for a bit in the college game right now. Not an extended period of time, but I bet he would be okay playing there. I mean, that shows you how good he is. But I love that idea.
Baker, come on back in 2 weeks for Michigan.
Hey, when they take the picture of him in the uniform,
yes,
they
exactly.
say, "Hey, come with me."
Yeah. Or it's like the Mike Leach, letting the kicker come out of the stands at Texas Tech, or Mississippi State, wherever it was.
Now, Texas and Ohio State might be a little bit upset, but hey, we need a win here.
Yeah.
It beats it absolutely beats the roll of the dice. Just hey, let's make this 5-star retreat a reality and bring him in. I love
well,
it.
Schmitty, Colin in the stream chat actually brings up a point a lot of people have forgotten about when you talk about that left tackle spot. And Gary asked the rhetorical question earlier.
Nice.
Gary asked the rhetorical question earlier of would you rather have an unproven true freshman coming in against Michigan at your left tackle spot? Well, would you rather have an unproven true freshman or what has already been proven in Turner Corcoran? I kind of err on the side of unproven. But this question here, Walter Rouse, that's a name a lot of people forgot. Remember when he was the future starting left tackle of Nebraska for 3 days?
What's he doing at OU?
He's playing a lot.
Yes.
Yep.
Playing well.
Yep.
Yeah, hits kind of keep on coming, don't they? Nebraska trying to get it figured out. Minnesota's cut it down to an 11-point difference here. Carolina and the Gophers 21-10. Boulder's been a nightmare if you're trying to drive through. Man,
that Brian Ferentz, the drive for 325, has hit a pothole on I-80 outside of Colfax.
Yeah, it's 10-7. Western Michigan up by 3 on Iowa. Meanwhile, the Pac-12 is grinning with 8 teams ranked. We're here inside the graduate single barrel where we're located. Weekend edition of Hail Varsity as we're getting the home opener kicked off. Nebraska-Northern Illinois. We're powered by your friends at Sauter-Heyman as we are on the road here for this opener, back next week for Louisiana Tech. I've been told that Harbaugh has rented out for a second time in Lincoln the entire graduate. So we will be TBA at the whim of Mr. Harbaugh, where pregame ain't going to be here.
Studio sure is nice. I tell you what, guys, from my vantage point,
I will take your word for it. We're 30 feet from a bar, though. So, guys, let's dive in. I know we've talked about the offensive line. I know we've talked a lot about Harburg and Gary Sharp here. Bill Dolman also on location. So I'm interested with the defense. Are we at the point where they are going to have to do even more, Sharpie, and Bill follow up with that, and Elijah? I think the defense, God, it's not fair, but if they could get the football or even score, that eases, again, some of the tension for this offense. I think the offense will feel a little bit more confident just because they know Harburg's kind of a tough runner and probably he doesn't have history of ball security issues. So I think from a mentality standpoint, the team can be all right going into this. Plus they're either ticked off or hungry or they're somewhere searching for this first win. But the defense is gonna have to key it again, Sharpie, with this night kickoff.
Well, one thing on Harburg, so I've heard from a reliable source that the ball has not been on the ground or in the hands of the defenders this week with Harburg running quarterback one. I mean, and they've done it since Sunday. So they've kind of been planning that Harburg is going to be their starter. I think you'll see a heavy dose of quarterback run game. You got to be careful. This defense, it's a good starting point. They have to get better in terms of takeaways and getting off the field on third down. But you don't want to go a long time where it's the defense bailing out the offense, because there's going to be somebody on the defense that's going to stand up and they're going to say, hey, why don't you guys hold up your end of the bargain? But it's kind of tough to live the Iowa way. We've seen that.
Yeah.
Hey, just be good enough. Can you be good enough, and then we'll find some points to win? Because at some point there's going to be a key game where they just don't have the horses to keep up with a talented offense. Now, the next couple of weeks at quarterback, it plays into your hands. But I like where this defense is. I like where Tony White is. They're playing a lot of guys. Guys are happy. Guys are flying around. They're further along than I think any of us could have thought, because they've done a really good job of teaching it and then implementing it. And so they put you in a good spot, but you can't live like that. At some point, the offense has to help you out. And let's be honest, talking about the defense, how it relates to the offense, if the offense wasn't so erratic, Nebraska wins Minnesota, and I truly believe, and I know I'm changing kind of the question here, the thing about Rule this week, looking at his defense and praising them and knowing what challenges they have in offense, he talks about belief. So guys believe in what they're doing. They just haven't been validated. And I think belief is a strong thing, but you need an experience of, hey, I believe, and look what it did for us at 1. I truly believe if Nebraska wins at Minnesota, they would have won last week in Boulder.
Could have.
It didn't happen. They're 0-2. So I think the defense has further along in the belief that what they're doing is working, where the offense believes, but they haven't really been able to show anything yet.
The thing that I also think that they have belief in is in each other. When you consider the fact that Nebraska has played, I believe, 63 or 66 players in the first 2 games on the road. Now, that's a lot of players, right? If you're playing your first 2 games at home, then those numbers get into the 80s and 90s. And I think Tom used to probably played 150 guys against Arizona State back in 1995. But those are road games where guys are going on the trip and they're getting to play on the trip. And of those 63 or 66 players, 33 of them are defensive players. And we saw Riley Van Poppel, and we've seen Prince Well, and we've seen Cam Lenhart. They're not just getting in there and getting a couple of snaps. They're playing in significant moments. Maybe it's at the end of the game, but the more guys you get out there, that when their teammates see them out, they know they can get the job done for the most part. I think there's a lot of belief collectively in what Tony White is doing with the defense, but those players are probably now lining up and believing in the guy who's lining up next to him that play is going to get made. And it doesn't matter if it's a freshman, right, or some newcomer, or it's a guy like Reimer who's been around for a long time, or one that you really root for, Nick Henrich. That's the thing that I think is really significant about what was it? What did Desmond Howard call it today? Nebraska's prevent defense against Colorado. That is the greatest prevent defense in the history of football. If you can get 8 sacks, right? Nebraska ran a game
8 sacks, 11 TFLs
on a prevent. Nice, really good.
Elijah, you talk about this defense and Nebraska. It's impressive. Guys that we've talked to, all of us here have talked to during the recruiting process, not only are seeing time, fellas, but they're contributing at a high level. Van Poppel, to you guys' point, Princewell, and then Lenhart. I mean, what kind of sequel does Lenhart have today? I think Robinson played well against Minnesota till the headbutt. I think Polar Bears looked incredible, and Elijah Henrich looks like a different player. He is so agile right now. Reimer's been good. We talked about Bayer. The secondary has been money. It's fun watching this defense, but the young guys, man, they've really hit, at least so far, with some of these young prospects.
And what's so key about that defense, when you compare it over to young guys that you're trying to get on the field in offense, particularly in that wide receiver position, is look what the guys around them are allowing the freshmen to do. You have a lot less pressure on the freshman's shoulder whenever, you have 3 defensive linemen lined up with them that you can trust to do their job. So I really like what I've seen from the freshmen, but what's nice is you're not expecting those freshmen to carry your defense early in the Husker career. It's guys like Cam Lenhart that get to come in and 3 or 4 snaps, get to go show what you have. And you can trust that the other guys in that defensive line are going to hold up their end of the bargain as well. Same in the linebacker room with Bayer. Whenever you get to line up Bayer with John Bullock and Luke Reimer or Nick Henrich or whatever the linebacker rotation is, you feel really good about those other guys in the linebacker room, and it allows you to feel more confident in the freshmen. And that's something that I think we need to flip around and talk about with the offense, is how much pressure, whenever people talk about Malachi Coleman and people talk about Jalen Lloyd, how much pressure are you putting on those guys whenever those are the only true deep threats that you have in an offense? I mean, look back at the Minnesota game. Who's your deep threat in the fourth quarter? You're looking to take a shot. It's Tommy Hill, who's a cornerback.
Yep. I think so. The problem with the young freshmen is, they have to come through at some point this year, and then for the program to move forward. And I wonder if you'll see a little bit more. Guys, it's going to make a big difference tonight. Nebraska's playing at home. There has been some quirky stuff. They had some travel issues last week getting to Boulder. There's unfamiliarity. So now guys that have played here, they're going to be sleeping in their own beds, essentially. So I think that will make a difference with certain guys. Now we can get our feet on the ground. Like Busini. I think he'll be better today. But back to the defense and talking about the younger guys, here's another sign that you hope this equates to the offense as well. But let's just focus on the defense. How about also the fact Bill brought up Bayor and him coming off the milk carton. How about Jabari Butler and Nick Henrich last week? They didn't play the opening week. They come back from an injury, and you wouldn't have known it playing against Colorado. They got right in, and they played well. That's a huge sign because we haven't necessarily had that when guys have either been on a milk carton and then when they get the opportunity, they come through, or they've been injured and their first game back, they splash. I said this on my show. I've got a man crush on a 44-year-old, and it's not you, Schmitty. It's Tony White because I think Tony White is there's refreshing to have a competent defensive coordinator that he coordinates his assistants. He doesn't coordinate the defense. He coordinates his assistants, and they've got some great teachers on that side of the ball. And that side of the ball gives you at least, okay, I can see the picture because I thought the O would be ahead of the D if we were talking in the middle of the summer.
Well, and you know who's praised the defense all week? It's been Urban Meyer.
I was just going to mention that.
Urban Meyer has done nothing but go wow with Tony White. Tony White's name's going to continue to get thumbs up with the analysts. Tony White's defense, assuming they're not hung out to dry or wrung out to dry, is going to continue to be the strength of this Nebraska football team, hoping, if you're a Big Red fan, that the offense will catch up. And Tony White's going to get more phone calls, maybe at the end of this season because of programs wanting him to lead. And Dvorak, the linebackers have been awesome.
Yeah,
the linebackers have been good. The secondary's been money.
I think Terrence Knighton is.
Pot roast has been big time, right?
It's interesting to see those guys. I think we've seen what Corey Campbell has done in reshaping the bodies of those defense. Because I see Cam Lennart on that, and they making a play or getting on the screen, and you're like, he looks like he probably goes 250. I think is and not in the Stephon Wynn defensive line category or the Junior Maneras.
There are guys catching strays from Bill that are long gone.
Bill's jumping off the top rope, steel chair in each hand.
But I just look at the way that those guys have been conditioned and the body makeup, and you're talking defensive linemen who look like middle linebackers, but the athleticism is there, and that's the thing about that 3-3-5 defense that when we first started talking about it a few months ago, I saw it when Rocky Long was doing it in New Mexico. I had a chance to talk to him about it. It's about angles, it's about being athletic, and it's about beating your guy to that angle to make the play. And we're seeing that from Tony White's scheme and Corey Campbell's scheme to get him prepared.
And guys, I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse here, but we talked about the fact that there might be calls for head coaching gigs for Tony White. Let's take a look in the mirror for a second. I don't think Nebraska is safe from a big dog in college football coming and calling up Tony White and saying, hey, I need a defensive coordinator next year. Nebraska is look at what the past decade has been. If Alabama or Georgia or Texas or Ohio State comes calling Tony White and says, I see what you did to the Husker defense, I want that here. Nebraska's not safe right now. So it's not just head coaching jobs that Nebraska should be scared of with Tony White. The history of Nebraska would say that's what you worry a coordinator leaving for. But let's look at what Nebraska is right now.
Trev and
it became a financial thing, yeah. But here's the other part of that is, I mean, how many assistants from here have been courted by other programs? Now, back in the glory days, it was really, really good to be an assistant here. You were taken care of, you were working for a legend, and you kind of got to be your own person. Now, since then, there hasn't been many times where an assistant coach or a coordinator have been openly courted by another program. I think that says a lot about Rule and coaching coaches and his hires, because Tony White won't be alone down the road. I think Terrence Knighton and Evan Cooper will also get a lot of attention.
The guy that comes to my mind is Tuioti going to Oregon, but there's a number of guys on that staff, previous staff, that I think said, you know what, dude, we better get out while we can get out. So you go start looking, and they did. As Minnesota's trying to make this an 8-point game, as they're kicking a field goal here against the Tar Heels, it is empty seat night in Chapel Hill. As they hit it, and it's a one-possession game here for the Fighting Flex. Vic from Denver has weighed in, and he is praying that I do not need his special batch of reserve tequila he brought to us in Boulder at the Big Red of the Rockies last Thursday. Vic, the Templeton's about gone. God love you. We have had a little tequila, and we'll get after it maybe as a cheers. Nebraska got on the board. We aren't supposed to cheer, but it's been a lot of doom and gloom the last 2 weeks with an 0-2 start.
They are in desperate need of a victory. I mean, just because the dread kicks in, like okay, first of all, they need a win, but I think they need a quick start tonight. Whether it's Harburg or Bill Dolman playing quarterback, no offense. And you're throwing to Elijah, no offense.
Dolman's doing his best, Ted McGinley.
But Nebraska offense needs a quick start. They need something. They need to feel good early in that stadium because, it's the first game and you feel that dread a little bit. I think people want to feel good. And if it is and I think this could be an ugly game because of the way Northern Illinois plays. If you're really stopping and starting, especially offensively, man, that just vibe is really, really uncomfortable. So I think they need a quick start and not make this game like a tension convention. Keep it at arm's length.
Sharpie, more
Sharp.
Quickly, before we take a break, I know we need to take a break here. Sharpie, more important that the offense plays well tonight or the defense plays well? I know the answer is always going to be a combination of both, but where do you think the pressure is going to lie tonight?
I'm going to go opposite probably of most people. I'm going to say the defense. You played 2 Power 5 programs. Now you've got back-to-back weeks against not very good quarterbacks, not great offenses. You're playing a group of 5. You can't take a step back. You need to now take a big step forward. I'm not really sure about the offense because until you get the ball handling, the stuff taken care of, everything is clouded on what they're trying to do, even though they've been able to run the ball. Mine is on the defense for the next 2 weeks to take that next big step forward.
Huh. Interesting.
Iron Horse, Gary Sharp, Pride of Fairbury, Bill Dolman, offensive line standout back in the day for the Southeast Knights, Elijah Herbal. Asthmatic, Chris Schmidt. We are here.
What team did you play for?
I said asthmatic.
Oh.
Asthmatic. The
fighting asthmatic.
The obscene phone call asthmatics.
The fighting asthmatic sounds like a terrible boxing league. It's only one round.
Hey,
and it's funny.
Weren't they playing Goldie Hawn's team in Wildcats?
No, I don't. I love Wildcats. You know what's the best? The best and the worst part is the bathtub part of Goldie Hawn. And,
okay.
Well, but point
Welcome to game day.
Right. You're sitting there watching it with your little brother, and that scene was there. Well, Dad smiles about it. Mom's like, "What are you watching?" It's like, "Hey, you rented it for us, Mom. Thank you." We're here inside the Graduate Single Barrel. Great steaks and chops and 200 whiskeys to choose from. A quick timeout. We'll wind down, get some predictions in. Hail Varsity ahead of Nebraska-Northern Illinois as we're powered by your friends at Sauter Heyman.
Here's the news you need to know.
United Auto Workers go on strike at 3 plants affecting the big 3 manufacturers. Hunter Biden's legal mess makes President Biden's path forward a lot more rocky. The war of words continues between Speaker McCarthy and Matt Gaetz.
Stay connected and find out what's next.
Lincoln's new generation of talk. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine. Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
The bakers of Country Hearth and Village Hearth breads are proud to support local education with Loaves for Learning, the program that makes it easy to earn money for your school. Enjoy Country Hearth and Village Hearth all-natural breads, buns, bagels, and more. Then save the UPC from the package for your school to collect and redeem. Each is worth 5 cents and can be used for books, computers, sports, music, whatever your school needs. Up to $10,000 a year. Learn more at loavesforlearning.com. Country Hearth and Village Hearth breads, baking our best for you.
This Sunday, the Chiefs head to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Tune in at 11 a.m. for the best pregame coverage in the NFL. Right here on your home for Kansas City Chiefs football. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Ask Forsyth Insurance Agency if Auto Owners makes sense for you. Go to forsythins.com.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Pizza Ranch is celebrating the summer of chicken. On our buffet or on the go, we have the country's best chicken and the summer's best chicken too. It's perfect for park picnics, pool parties, ping pong, putt-putt, pedal pushing, play practice, picture painting, picking peppers, and probably plenty more.
Celebrate the summer of chicken with $5 off a 12-piece chicken box. Available for carry-out or delivery from your local Pizza Ranch. Pizza Ranch, everyone's favorite buffet.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. Because don't just cut down, but stop smoking. In addition, lose all the weight 100% guaranteed with Mark Patrick seminars. Let hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings and lose the weight. That's right, seminar Tuesday, September 26th at the Holiday Inn, Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Registration 30 minutes before seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's right, markpatrickseminars.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music.
And now,
back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here, Hail Varsity Weekend Road Show.
Where are you going?
I'm just grabbing. Oh, shoot. All right, we got some friends from Oklahoma, Brent and Jason, father, son, making their way to their second Nebraska game that came by the single barrel here on the Graduate. It was pretty awesome to see them. I think Jason could play on the line, fellas.
Yeah, well, I thought he was I actually thought he was like here on an unofficial.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he's a big boy. Hey, you know what we should do here? We'll do a little round table. And I know you want to get to predictions and stuff because it is kind of cool. Like coming in from Omaha today, the traffic wasn't heavy, but you know, once you get to Lincoln, it's opening day. It has a different feel. The weather is absolutely beautiful outside. It's kind of cool that Matt Rule is going to get to experience this for the first time. Never been in the stadium outside of one game where, you know, he gets to be like part of the experience. Bill, your first game. What's the first game you remember in Memorial Stadium?
Boy, it was either a Nebraska TCU game or Nebraska Missouri Tom's first loss.
Ooh.
I was there for that.
78?
73.
Oh, wow.
It was, as I recall, it was a little chilly that day. And I think it was 13-12 was the final score. The TCU game, total ass kicking.
Pretty good.
Mine was 89 Oklahoma. I convinced my mom, because I was growing up in the Des Moines area, I wanted to come over to a game, and I wanted to see Nebraska-Oklahoma. And that Oklahoma 89 team was not very good, but that's when I was like, oh, Jerry Godowski's better than Steve Taylor. He had a monster day, and Ken Clark. That's like, it's so cool that we all remember our first game. Like, that's something special about this program and that stadium.
Well, I'll never forget.
Knowing your research, Sharpie, hold on.
Yeah.
You know that OU was on TV probation, so you was a hell of a sell job.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Elijah. Sorry about that.
The thing about the first game, I remember it was 2005, Texas Tech, Nebraska. Nebraska lost the game. That doesn't matter. I'll never forget, though, that first feeling, walking out of the gate and seeing the student section for the first time. And we were there 45 minutes before kick, so the stadium hadn't fully filled in at that point. But I'll never forget that feeling of walking out of the gate and seeing all the fans in the stadium and finally understanding as a little 6-year-old, oh, this is what they mean by the sea of red, because the TV never did it justice until you were in that stadium on a sunny day and went, that red is different. The sea of red is different in that way. 2005 Texas Tech, Nebraska. I won't forget it.
Old Jay Moore had his mitts on the interception. LaKeven Smith took it away. LaKeven fumbled. Game-winning field goal. Away we go. Away.
Your first game?
It was 87 Arizona State, Nebraska.
Okay.
I think it was 87 Arizona State, Nebraska. It was at night.
Okay.
Okay. And the sunset I'll never forget because we were kind of high up, west balcony. You could kind of turn and look. West balcony is where Dad's company had the seats, and all four of us got to go. My first real game. I sold a bunch of popcorn in 88 for midget football, and I got to go to the Nebraska-Oklahoma State game with Barry.
Yes.
I mean, I worked the neighborhood.
Points in that game.
My little red wagon and all my Husker popcorn. I went around and around, and it's like, look, I got your family cat here. You're going to buy this whole this whole red wagon of my popcorn so I can go watch Barry run.
You know, I was talking with someone earlier this week. There's the other part of this experience in the old grandma on 10th and Vine that's turning 100 years old. How cool is it that there are a lot of either yourself or your friends, their first game in that stadium, it was their grandpa or grandma that took them. It wasn't mom or dad. Yeah. It was grandpa or grandma, longtime season ticket holders took you to your first game. That's pretty cool.
It's such a family affair at the stadium. 100 years celebrating it, and awesome insight as always from Mike Babcock, and Evan Bland had a great story as well this week. And yeah, I mean the big games. First Oklahoma game was Calvin Jones, 91, just cold as all get out. The 90 Colorado game, but going to that, you were part of this too, Bill. The 91 Washington team, Steve Ettman, Napoleon Kaufman, night game. Mark Brunell,
and Billy Joe Hobart.
Billy Joe Gunrack.
Yeah.
That to me is one of the best teams that's ever played in Memorial Stadium,
so
not named Nebraska. I mean, they were really. I mean, there were some title teams, some Oklahoma teams in there, but that Washington team was really, really good. And I can't think. There's probably a handful of more. Oklahoma, obviously.
94 Colorado.
They were really good.
94 Colorado was an NFL team here.
Yeah. And they got their asses handed to them after stomping on the end, and we took that personal.
And they wore T-shirts when they got off the plane, the real black shirts.
And we took that personal.
Yeah, and we did, and they got beat by a better NFL team, that 94 Husker team.
Yeah, that was good. No, some of the greats though, and Sharpie, I love this topic. We got to see Troy Aikman here, I did not, but UCLA came here in 87 because he sat out 86, left Oklahoma in 85. But Aikman was here. Seeing that Washington team was really good. Sanders.
We got to see Barry Sanders twice. His first game here, 22 carries, 33 yards.
Well, the thing that was funny is Coach McBride will always say this: "Don't hurt Thurman." He would tell every member of those late '80s teams, "Don't hurt Thurman. If you hurt Thurman, they're going to put that damn berry in." I'm not kidding. Anyone who hurts Thurman is going to be running all next week. You can just hear McBride saying it. But yeah, they had Thurman Thomas, Barry Sanders on the same squad with Gundy and Hartley Dykes, and they were a party team. They were awesome.
Well paid.
Yeah. They were.
Whatever happened to Hartley Dykes?
I don't know, but he was at New England with Irving. The funny thing is Jack Pierce's hilarious comment about trying to recruit Hartley Dykes is like, Schmitty, he wanted to shake your hand funny. Instead of up and down, it was out. His palm was out, and he was just waiting.
Hey, did we all reminisce today watching K-State and Mizzou on the same field for the second straight year? But like we just rattled off like Big 8 player after Big 8 player that was not playing for Nebraska. Those were the days where everybody had characters. Like you knew at least a handful of players on every single team in the Big 8. And the coaches were characters. Coaches. Like Pat Jones.
Yep. It's exactly what I was thinking.
Pat's the best.
Yeah.
He's still hilarious. Well, that was awesome.
Guys, we have about 90 seconds here if we want to get to predictions before we have to take our last break and get out.
I was going to say real quick,
Is
Vince
this like
Gibson
end
did
of the
some good
show
things with
last
K-State.
break?
Yeah,
or
like
no?
end of the show. Like we have 90 seconds left, and then we have
Okay, we've just kind of blasted through this. The weekend edition of Hail Varsity here at the Single Barrel, powered by your friends at Sauter Heyman.
See, it's so nice on Saturdays whenever we don't have commercial breaks usually, but we're back.
21-9, Nebraska wins and barely a cover. Dolman?
I told you yesterday, Nebraska covers the over and they cover the spread, 43-12.
Okay.
27-10. Update: Jeff Sims is out throwing the football with the other two quarterbacks.
And it should be noted, Jeff Sims not wearing an ankle brace, but he was taking reps with the third-string center. And he has been giving tips to Heinrich Haarberg during the warm-up. So it looks like more momentum moving towards it. Despite that.
Look at Insider.
Yeah, Elijah's got the old bat phone working.
I keep my finger on the pulse. I'll just say that. I will say I have
but not the razor.
I have not changed my prediction from last night. I'm still going 28-6. Nebraska gets it done. I think the defense is the star of the show today, and the offense does enough, especially in the second half, to make it a game or a not close game. I think it's the defense that wins the day, though.
All right. Podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Hail Varsity, and, of course, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Check that out. Elijah, good stuff. We'll catch up with Elijah postgame on Real Red. Big thanks to Sharpie, Pride of Fairbury, Bill Dolman, Chris Schmidt. Talk to you soon with Hail Varsity.